people that have gone out there against the mainstream media and said, you're going to call us racist? You're going to call us potential Timothy McVeighs? Fuck you. War.
War. Honestly, that's one of my favorite clips ever. I love Andrew Bobart.
All-time faves.
All-time faves.
We just wanted to start that out for you this week.
And just set the mood.
We are at war. Welcome to the Current Conservative.
There's actually a clip of AOC, and she's talking about the climate crisis, and she's like, this is our war. This is our World War III. Or did she say two? I think she said World War II. This is our World War II. Talking about the climate crisis. It's just so good. You know what? The content makes itself.
It really does.
Right?
It really does. I still can't get over her moment at the border where she's like,
oh my gosh.
And
memes for days.
Offense with nobody at it.
Yeah. She's like, you know, in the last couple months, she's gotten like heckled a couple times, and she's had to, you know, overcome.
I mean, I don't understand how she keeps winning in her district because she's terrible. I mean, that when she was at that speaking event and they were all like heckling her, and she's like, okay, listen. Okay,
but
okay,
did you know that
listen.
she was okay, listen, and she was like going with their little beat.
Yeah, she was like
dancing on the stage.
Oh God,
but she was raised in like a wealthy family.
Yeah, she's from
she had like a private
Westchester.
education.
Like she's from, I forget what my dad just said it, like Pound Ridge or like something like that, like of some really wealthy area.
Oh really?
Yeah,
I had no idea. She's this little Latina bartender.
Oh, and then that, you know, that clip of her being like, it's okay to be a bartender. It's okay to be the person who drives the bus in the morning.
It's okay. Okay,
Yeah,
AOC,
like,
okay.
Nobody said that it wasn't. You're the only person,
right,
that is like making this weird, and you're a bold-faced liar.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show like the hypocrisy of the left, and so many of like, you know, the old Marxists and communists actually all had like a good education and plentiful opportunities. Like, you know, Pol Pot, for instance, had private education. I'm pretty sure Lenin came from a landowner family. And yeah, I mean, just this is who they are. They like to paint themselves as like, you know, just people who have been, I don't know where I'm going with this thought.
They like to paint themselves as like poor from, you know, of the people for the people. And it's just not true. It's simply not true. They've all been handed everything that they have, and they're hypocrites. They're absolute hypocrites. Yeah. The issue is never the issue. This is something that people, I think, overlook when it comes to talking about the left and what's going on, because it's like they're coming from a whole different agenda. They're coming from a whole different mindset of like trying to corrupt the minds of like just everyday people who typically just fall in the middle of the road. Like they don't really find themselves going one way or another, because it's just not something that they're putting their energy in. They're like, I go to work, I come home, I, you know, spend time with my family on the weekends. Maybe I play tennis or golf or whatever, and go to the beach or whatever, go skiing. And like, they don't think about politics in the sense of like how it's really affecting their life. They only pay attention when when it's election time, and they like see it as a sport. They're like, okay, let me put on the debate because it's, you know, it's entertaining.
Right.
That's what they've
Well,
taken advantage of for so long, because they know they can literally run around and do whatever they want. And now they're taking it one step further and actually like weaponizing the entire system against the people. And that's
right.
why it's like such a severe problem, because people just they didn't see that coming, and they don't even know what's happening most of the time.
Well, and they just, they obviously manipulate the truth, and they're very coercive. Like there was a quote I sent you earlier this week, and it was, people do not know that they've been deceived until they are confronted with the truth. And I was like, yo, that is the truth for real, because I mean, it's like the rose-colored sunglasses, or whatever the saying is. People just truly don't see the light until they're, forced to listen to questions and answer questions. And, a part of our job, like as people who are fighting for freedom and for truth, it's like to actually be willing to confront those who have been deceived, to not like paint them out to be bad people, but just ask them simple questions to help them critically think and understand the times that we're in are severely different than, what we were born into, and why has it gotten this bad, and from there you can help them work back and hopefully help them see the light, that the left is just not the way. Not the way. So,
not the way. Yeah, I think it's like fifth generation warfare is a term that some people use. When you think about like the way that they fought wars, in past decades, it's like I heard this thing about how if you want to, all of war is basically deception. Like, how are you deceiving your enemy in order to make them think one thing, and then you take advantage of them in another way, and keep your enemies close or closer.
It's like art
where
of
it's
war.
like, and you are like, for example, like starting a fire over here, like a really big fire, to make it seem like you have like a group of 1,000 people. You know what I mean? That's like, I don't know what generation warfare this is, but like back in, before they had like mobilization, like horses and tanks, and, even before that, like obviously horses, then tanks, like in that sense. But they have, like a big fire, and then it's like, oh, we have 1,000 people, but then you take, 50 of your 100 people that you really have, and you go and like attack the enemy from the other end. You know what I mean? And they don't see it because they're like focusing on like, oh, they have so many people, like this big fire, whatever, that, and then it kind of like escalates and changes and like reformats and everything. And I just think now, especially with technology, like we don't even know the technology that they have, so, and it's just happening right under our noses. I mean, AI is becoming like just a daily part of like our lives, and I can't even imagine like how long that they've had that, in their toolbox, using that against our enemies.
I mean, I feel like we always heard of AI, even like growing up, and it would just like
robots. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Your camera went off, by the way.
Oh.
Sorry. Just want to let you know.
Let's see. Is it there now?
No.
I can see both of us.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So weird.
Well, maybe we'll just keep going and we'll just see what happens.
Okay. just keep going. Just keep going. Okay. What was I saying? We were discussing
robots.
Oh yeah, I feel like, growing up, we would hear like, oh, AI is going to take over the world someday. And that was a pretty like popular, I guess you could consider it a conspiracy theory, or just like, a thought for the future. But, the more I, do my own personal studying and researching history, it actually, you find out that a lot of older, ancient historians, and even, more modern day philosophers and whatever historical figures have talked about like the future of like a technocratic state, and how it would just become, what we're experiencing today. It's just like the slow drip of, enforcing it into, embellishing it into our culture,
Yeah.
And I think like, we're only in our young 30s, early 30s, late 20s, but we've experienced this kind of thing before, especially with, a lot of the other leftist agendas. We've experienced a feminist wave where they, force that ideology onto all of us over a period of time. And then it went to the LGBT agenda where they've definitely embellished that and enforced that upon our culture and our everyday lives. And then, obviously COVID-19 with their propaganda. And so it'll be interesting to watch the unfolding of AI come into all of the different technological aspects of our lives and how that will change the way that, we communicate. And I know that people are probably afraid of like their jobs being taken away.
Yeah.
Because of this kind of technology. And so, but you know what? Actually, I was listening to Dan Bongino this morning, as we do here at the Current Conservative, and he was talking
Big
about
fan, Stan.
yeah, he was talking about how like in the technology space, when AI, like these robots are just making things up. And with all the research leading up to this period now, they've all these scientists have said like that would be impossible. Like the robot will just only know what it knows and that's it. But now they're finding that is not the truth. And apparently there's like some case study that this robot gave this person wanted book recommendations on a certain topic. And so this AI like robot gave them 5 book recommendations. And guess what? None of those books were actually real. Yeah.
So it's just making stuff up.
And so the scientists in this space call this hallucinations, like literally call it a hallucination where the robot is just making something up to answer a question. And I also read another article last week of China. They're like trying to keep up with ChatGPT and they want to obviously release something that's competitive like, ChatGPT or whatever, but they want to program the AI to promote socialist thought. So that's where all this is going, is that they're going to just be infiltrating even to a further degree through this technology to promote their ideology. And how the left always does, they make it sound really good. It's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy and scary. I'm like it's super anti-AI, but I'm like, I just don't think that we're going to be able to really avoid it for much longer.
No.
Right?
I mean, in the sense of like, we wouldn't need to use it in our personal lives, but it's going to be implemented in like in the places that you go to and the stores that you shop at and online. Like even this platform says like, oh, like look at our new AI transcriptor, where it like transcribes like what you're saying. And it's like, so it's literally just, I mean, not that they don't already know what we're saying, you know what I mean? And see, like I think that's like a grander point as well, is that I feel like this is just I feel like this is like the machine exposing it to the people in like drips. As we know, this is like something that they do. It's like drip, 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 like just give them a little bit and they'll just like swallow the communist ideology, in slow
100%.
drips. And I feel like this is them now saying like, oh, like, look, AI, we're evolving, but it's like, they've already, like, this has already been part of a grander plan. They've already been using it. They've already been listening to our conversations. They've already been spying on us, and now they're just exposing it to us as like a new technological advancement. And it's really not,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, people already get their videos taken down and it's like, well, how would they know what we're saying? It's like, because they watch everything and they can hear everything.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, we're literally attached to a tracking device like at all times.
Yeah.
that's listening to us. So there really is no way to get around it. And that kind of
with
I'll bring
just
up
the
another
level of technology for sure. I mean,
yeah.
our phones obviously listen to us. I mean, I'm sure we've all experienced like an ad on
Oh
an
yeah,
ad
once you
on
start talking about something and then it pops up.
yeah, it will pop up. Sometimes that's happened to me when I've only thought it too, and that's the most scary part. It's like
Stop.
I didn't text this to anyone. It's just something that popped into my mind, like that I need to buy on Amazon or something,
Right.
and then
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
get
yeah.
an ad for it. It's so weird. I'm like, I
Oh my
hate
God.
everything
Or
about
even
this.
if you've started searching for something, like when I was moving, I was searching like, I'm searching bed frames, like table,
That's all kind
bar
of
stool, and then
understandable.
right too, because it's already going into your like
Your
device.
search
So
engine. Yeah.
yeah, search engine.
But I just hate how all the apps like talk to each other. And then like if I'm with you and if our phones are close together, it shares information between us too. And so like if you've been looking at something, my phone will pick it up and show me. And so then it like banks on the fact that like I see something, you see something, and then it's like, oh, synchronicity. Oh, we're, good. Or what is that saying?
You guys
about,
must want to know what each other's thinking.
yeah. I don't know. It just
Oh
seems
my
very
God.
weird. But I came across this. I'm very like, I don't want to say like fascinated, but I'm very intrigued by like Lenin's writings because I feel like
Mm-hmm.
he obviously like laid out a lot of the ideology for communists, and he was a big thought leader for the left, I guess, sadly. But he wrote about like technocratic practice, which is explained as like, what does it say here? It's like the bridge between engineering and economics, and like the science aspect of economics. And that's basically like where AI comes in, because what they're wanting to do with our digital dollar and the Fed Now app, which is super scary. Like Fed Now, like the federal government is basically trying to say like, oh, we need to be able to oversee, basically control. That's what it's all about, controlling what private businesses do, like Venmo and PayPal, etc., for these automatic transfers of money.
Yeah.
And so this quote, literally, I was just like, I'm literally done for today. It's talking about, Mao and the technocratic regimes that happened in Singapore, South Korea, Taiwan, and then how China started to implement technology, which is how they get their surveillance, that level of surveillance among the Chinese citizens in communist China. Like technology is such a major part of communism. And so of course they've wanted to advance, AI to this degree where they can literally survey us all day long.
Yeah.
Surveil, sorry.
Okay.
So this quote says, the technocratic practice of scientific management, which Vladimir Lenin had declared as exploitive under capitalism, but beneficial under socialism, offered a bridge between engineering and economics. And I was just like, okay, so it's exploitive under capitalism, but really good under your made up dystopian system that doesn't work.
Right.
So basically, I mean, he argued or really wanted this kind of technology in our culture. This is literally the communist dream, to have like this level of control over our lives. So, great news. Good, everybody. Just
doing
just
good.
I would say
I
like mentally buckle down for things to
it's going to get so much worse. I
weird.
genuinely feel like there are going to be militias rising up. It's the only way. Like, it's the only way.
Militia.
And
Yeah.
militias in different states, because
yeah. I mean, thank goodness
they're
we
only
have our
there
guns.
to serve themselves. They're only what?
Thank goodness we have our guns.
Yeah. Because the system and the people who work for it, the institution only survives to protect the institution. That's just the way it is. And the only people who act this way that the institution is acting, or the players within it, is like the mafia. You know what I'm saying? Like they only protect each other. And I mean, there's no way that these people actually genuinely think that like this is a good idea for everybody. They're just doing it because like they can control us, like you mentioned, and they can live their lives however they want. And like less people, it's easier for them to control, you know? So
absolutely. Well, yeah, I mean, just finances, like Bondino was talking about how, like, if the federal government, it can come down to the point of like the federal government hears about a protest or, you know, a gathering, they'll be able to track our bank accounts. So if we want to go and get a water at, you know, a gas station or whatever, a kiosk, get some food or whatever, they can just shut down our access to being able to buy and purchase things based on our affiliation with like a protest. Obviously, that would be extremely communist and anti-American and censoring our freedom of speech and our First Amendment right altogether in one fell swoop. But like, it's time to realize like the end goal for these people is exactly that. So why would you want to be a part of any of their agenda at all whatsoever?
Because you don't know the agenda.
Yeah, they don't know it.
Yeah, they don't know what's happening.
Educate the masses.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. That's what
we're trying
to do. I know. I mean, it's scary because I even met someone recently. The children. I even met someone recently who was like, "Yeah, I didn't realize to what extent I was being duped. Like, I didn't know that I was being duped. I just never thought that the government would be weaponized against us. You know, I mean, in theory, I understand why you wouldn't think that, but if you really go back in history, I mean, any institution that's risen to any, you know, position of power is only there to preserve its own power, you know? Hold on, I'm just going to close this door.
Sure.
But there was something else I was going to say, but yeah, these people are truly evil. I was going to bring up the like Elon Musk CCP connection, and because we were talking about, you know, we're talking about AI and
that it was
I just
discovered
feel like
that the government was reading direct messages. I don't know if I'm up to date on the CCP.
Well, I just mean like I know that I know that the CCP / China gave Elon Musk like millions of dollars to buy Twitter.
Oh, really? I didn't know this.
Yeah, Steve Bannon like goes in on this.
Oh, wow.
He does a whole segment. Yeah. I could try to find the one and send it to you. Yeah, it's pretty wild. Like when I listen to that, I'm like, oh, he's a shill for China. Like, period. End of story. Like there's no, and he praises China. Like it's like they're doing some great, amazing thing with humanity and all this stuff. And I'm like, huh? And he has like the biggest Tesla factories in Shanghai.
Oh, wow.
And the biggest consumer of Tesla is China.
Wow.
Yeah. And also,
that's crazy.
Like,
I did not know that.
Cobalt mining is like literally one of the most horrific, devastating industries of all.
Yeah.
Like it's human trafficking, slave labor, child slave labor, and adults as well. But
if you ever seen a video, like everyone should go watch a video of the cobalt mining. It is wild.
Devastating.
And it takes like 10 years to get one battery, enough lithium for one battery. Right?
What?
Yeah, it takes so much work to get enough for just one electric car.
This is something that's like very much overlooked in my opinion, because people are running around like, well, even if like, even if it's like, it's still good to be like, safe for the environment and everything. And I'm like, first of all, driving around, first of all, driving around in an electric car is like you're sitting in a battery. Like, do you understand what radiation is? Do you understand that like our bodies, as sensitive like bodies of tissue and energy, are not supposed to be sitting inside of an electric battery? Like,
yeah,
we already know what the phone does to our brain cells, and like looking at it and being around it, and it's just like all of it. And now you're sitting around driving for miles. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if they shut off the electric grid, like, honey, you ain't going anywhere, okay? Like, you are staying put right where you are, right where they want you.
No way to get out of the apocalypse.
Sit and duck right there. And you can only go 200, 300 miles like any other car. And then you get there and what? There's no freaking supercharger station. You're screwed. No.
Right.
Sorry, I want
well,
no part of that. And
also
then
why they want us all in electric cars, to be able to just shut our cars off and, you said this? Okay, well, you can't drive this weekend.
Yes. Yeah, just like a social credit score.
100%.
It'd probably be just built in.
This is what happened in Romania and probably all over Eastern Europe when they had to ration gasoline. People with license plates with that ended in an odd number, like if you had an odd number on your license plate, you could only drive on the odd weekends. And then if you had an even number, you could only drive on the even weekends, and you would only get a couple gallons at a time. And so if you actually wanted to go far away and like, I don't know, go on a road trip or something, you would have to like store up your rations. So that's where we're headed, everyone. If
15 minutes and 15-minute cities, they're already trying that in different places.
Yeah, well, they've eliminated, they're called like third bases, or like third places, bases. I can't remember the term. But they're eliminating places that people need / want to go besides school, work, and home. So there's like, they're eliminating, that need to go to like Blockbuster, or they're eliminating the need to go to the grocery store, because you can do it all online, or they're eliminating the need to,
go to the gym or to a park or to the beach or literally anywhere. Your freedom.
Shopping, go here, run, they're eliminating all of that with, ordering online, or they have the gig economy where you can just do it through an app, etc. And so,
it's scary, because I feel like we're coming to the end of like a civilization almost. Like, I just feel like, I mean, I don't think you need to be a rocket scientist to feel like, the energy on the planet is just like very, like, there's so much change and there's so many unknowns, and I don't know. It's like, we're a relatively young country, but on the other hand, I feel like we're not taking into account the effects of like what advanced technology and like where we've come and all the changes that are happening so rapidly are having, like the effects that it's having on our civilization.
Yeah. I think it was Charlie Kirk who was talking about like the average length of a democracy. And I know that we aren't a democracy, but he was just looking at it in the way of like the average lifespan of a democracy is 250 years. Wow. And our 250-year mark is 2027, right? Wait, sorry, 2026. 2026 is our 250 year.
Oh, right.
Right? I think
Didn't we already pass it?
I don't, can we do
1876, 1976, 200, 86, 96, 06, 16, 20. Yeah, you're right. 2026.
Yeah, 2026 is our 250 years. So
interesting.
Based on data throughout all of humanity, this is when democracies start to fall. And so he's just like, I mean, he has a relatively feisty attitude about it. I don't want to like put words in his mouth, but he was basically saying like, we aren't promised this republic forever. And when Benjamin Franklin left the signing of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, someone asked him, what do we have? And he said, a republic, if we can keep it.
If we can keep it.
And
Yep.
I think that paired with Ronald Reagan's quote on, freedom's not passed through the bloodline, and that it must be fought for and defended and protected. And, I think I just want to say something. At the end of during the Cold War, I don't think the Cold War ever ended. I think it was very propagandized that the U.S. beat communism. And so we all just, the older generation was very entitled and basked in the, American way of life and the freedom and the economic system they had. And it was, a time for growth and opportunity throughout the 90s with the internet boom and everything. I mean, it's just looking back at humanity, it's a lot to take in to realize how exactly we've gotten to this point in time. And yeah, James Lindsay, I love him. He does a lot of commentary on Marxism and communism, etc., and has written books on it and stuff. But he was talking about the importance of teaching children the bad parts of communism, and actually teaching them these things and not just talking about it, and help them identify, the weak points in our culture and identify just the destruction that the left perpetuates through their ideology and their messaging. So, anyway, he said it really well, but he basically was just like, we stopped teaching it because we thought we beat it. And we didn't. And it goes back to the Cold War and actually goes back to the JFK assassination, but that's for another time.
Yes.
But yeah.
We should definitely talk about that at some point, because I've been here, it's been a theme that's been coming up, or not a theme, but a topic that's been coming up the past week, the JFK assassination. And
it's fully known that our government killed the president. So what else would they do? What else are they willing to do? If they literally
why
took
is
out
it
our
that
president?
60 years later, the documents have still not been shown to the American public? Who are we protecting if every single person who was involved in that is dead?
Well, they're protecting the rage of the American people.
Well, that, and also because it's the institution that designed and executed the plan. So it's they're protecting, you know what I'm saying? They have to protect their own interests, because they're the ones that freaking planned it and conducted it,
Yep.
And I would 100% agree. I think one of the biggest elements of the truth, that the people who come out and speak the truth, that are now being targeted by the government, are people who can openly say that we don't need endless wars. We don't need to be caught up in implementing societies and situations and democracies all over the world, and countries where they just live a different lifestyle and have different cultures. Why are we not focusing on our own country and making it the most powerful that it can be and protected, so that we can defend ourselves? You know what I mean? Because the strength of the world is not going away. This is all ramping up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just feel no, the Cold War never ended, and we don't even really know the truth about all that. I just feel
no,
it's been hidden from us, and it's hard. I mean, that's why people like Trump and others talk about cutting out the endless wars, and they are targeted because they have to get rid of those people. Otherwise, their whole machine stops, because they're the ones sitting in, some back room in leather chairs, smoking cigars, talking about well, how do we make money off of Ukraine? You know what I mean? How do we keep this whole gig going? And we are just pawns in the game. That's what people they don't understand. They don't understand that, the social justice, we're fighting for people, and we're, you know what I mean? Get the people on your side and all this stuff. And it's no, we're literally useful idiots. That's what they want. That's their best case scenario for them is for us to be useful idiots. And I think another, famous quote by Reagan, I think, was freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. And that is very true. We are approaching that precipice. I mean, if we haven't already passed it, actually, I already think that, our freedoms have already been taken away. So hey, people are we're going to become Venezuela. I'm we're already there, sister. We're already there.
for sure. We're
They're
living off
throwing
the
people in
fat.
prison for memes, posting mean memes on the internet, and they're going to prison for 10 years.
Right. I mean,
we don't live in a free country anymore. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that we definitely are living off the fat of capitalism, but I mean, we opened up a whole can of worms with like these last 2 minutes of conversation. So I think that we have a lot to discuss on our future episodes, but just we wanted to keep this episode relatively shorter and
short and sweet, just a little rant sesh from Sunny and Allie.
Yeah, give you guys something to chew on. But I think like everything that we just basically said like truly does open up like a whole different can of worms, because it really does force us to like look at what, we've been told in the past, and see that there have been lies, and that there is a level of propaganda that has happened in America, especially with our parents' generation. And, the differences that they had to face between, what we had to grow up with, and now like their grandchildren are dealing with, with the trans and LGBT agenda. So anyway, I think, we definitely have things to discuss. I would love to do like a long form thing on the JFK assassination and dig into that. But anyway.
Yeah, and because propaganda is the whole purpose of propaganda is that you don't know that it's propaganda.
Like I said, people who have been deceived do not know that they've been deceived until they are confronted with the truth. So anyway, that's all for today. With that being said. Yeah. Let's go out again with the Andrew Breitbart quote, because this is a war, okay?
We're in a war.
And that's not to say, like, I mean, I just want to leave this. Like, I'm not a fan of war, obviously. This is more of like a war for our minds. This is not a war fought with rifles and bombs and things that we've seen in the past. It's an ideological war. Yep. 100%.
War of narratives. And it's also it's a fight for freedom. It's not about like fighting for, the cause is freedom. It's not about like one group versus another. Like the whole thing, the founding fathers literally wrote the Constitution. All of our protection, our God-given rights what are they? Freedom of speech, freedom of religion. You know what I'm saying? So that's what this is about. That's what they fought and died for. That's what the people in this country who give their lives to service literally sacrifice their entire lives and put themselves in harm's way every single second to protect that. Even if you don't understand it, and even if you don't care, they'll fight for your freedom no matter what. So
I love that.
This is spiritual warfare.
It is.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time. If you have any thoughts, email us, press.thecurrent
at gmail.com.
At gmail.com. I just thought that was self-explanatory, but no.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
It's not playing. Oh, okay.
All the people that have gone out there against the mainstream media and said, you're going to call us racist, you're going to call us potential Timothy McVeighs, fuck you. War.